this happens. Wow. How lucky are we to live here? Before I start, I just want to give a round of applause for the organizers of this event. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So 8 weeks ago, Lori and I were feeling like many of you might be feeling. We were feeling hopeless, overwhelmed, frustrated at what we were seeing happening in our country. And we realized we had a choice to make. We could choose paralysis or we could take action. We could do something, anything. We made signs and we drove to the ICE Enforcement and Removal Operations Office in Burlington. We wanted to see with our own eyes what this abduction machine looks like. We stood outside to show our support for immigrants and their rights and to express our shame at the ICE agents. 8 weeks ago, it was just the two of us. We've been going back week after week. Last week, there were over 100 of us standing outside. The ICE Enforcement and Removal Operations Office is located at 1000 District Avenue in Burlington. It's a large office park, surrounded by other offices. The building has tinted windows. There are no signs indicating that it is an ICE building. The office is just 1 block from the Burlington Mall. If you turn around, you see Macy's. It all looks extremely ordinary. But what we realized is that a building like that and the work that goes on there should never be ordinary in any society. It's a central hub for the New England region. This is where ICE agents and DHS officials plan their daily hunting trips. And we watch endless streams of vans deploy to go abduct immigrants in Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, and Vermont. When an immigrant in Massachusetts is arrested, they're often taken back to this facility for processing, where they are denied due process and held before being transferred to another detention center or deported. In addition, this office is also where immigrants come for mandatory check-in appointments and await their fate. The office was initially designed for temporary holding with no overnight detention, but since the imprisonment and release of Marcelo Gomes da Silva, the 18-year-old high school student from Milford, we've learned a lot more about this facility. We now know that immigrants are being detained for days in cells in the basement. There are no beds, no windows, no clocks, no showers, no sinks. Hardly any food or water is provided. Each cell is filled with dozens of immigrants, and there is a toilet sitting out in the open in the middle of the cell. The immigrants are not allowed to go outside. After these horrific conditions were made known, ICE's response was to issue a statement that all of their detention centers are inspected by a government contractor, so there's nothing to worry about. What ICE fails to mention is that this building in Burlington is classified as an office, not a detention center. It has never been inspected. For those detention centers that do get inspected, I've read the inspection reports. They're all published online on the ICE website going back years. They read like any home inspection list. You would never know, reading these reports, that there are any human beings inside these buildings. The health, well-being, and constitutional rights of the immigrants are of no concern to ICE or its government contractor inspectors. Now, the release of Marcelo from that hellish building was a victory, but many immigrants are still inside and more are brought in every single day. One immigrant imprisoned in Burlington right now is Carrie Diaz Martinez, a 29-year-old who fled the Dominican Republic to escape domestic abuse. She's married to a U.S. citizen, has no criminal record, and is eligible to apply for a green card. On June 3rd, Carrie arrived at the Boston Immigration Court for her scheduled immigration hearing. ICE abducted her at the courthouse, and she's been imprisoned in Burlington for the past 11 days. As with anything related to ICE, it gets worse. The rationale that ICE gave for her detention was, quote, to ensure that she would appear at her immigration court hearing. Yes, you heard that right. They arrested Carrie at her immigration hearing and imprisoned her because they claimed she wouldn't show up at her immigration hearing. This is the logic of madness. The government has perverted the law to such an extent that immigrants who obey the law, whether they're attending check-in appointments at an ICE facility or attending scheduled court hearings, have become the low-hanging fruit for ICE to snatch. This is how our government aims to achieve their goal of abducting 3,000 human beings every single day. Now, after standing outside this ICE facility for 8 weeks, I can tell you something that I hadn't known before doing that. The ICE agents take pleasure in their work. We've seen the satisfaction in their faces, their smiles, their laughs at us. In an article that was published while Marcelo was still imprisoned at Burlington, a reporter wrote, quote, Marcelo recounted to his lawyer one incident during which a guard pretended to open the door to the holding cell as if he was about to free the detainees, only to quickly close it while saying, psych, prompting laughs from the other guards.
Shame.
When ICE agents look at immigrants, I believe they see what Nazis looked at when they saw my ancestors.
Exactly.
They see animals to hunt, capture, separate from their families, imprison, humiliate, and make disappear. Now, my whole life, I've been loath to use Holocaust comparisons to describe any contemporary events in our country, but I have to acknowledge reality. The German SS entered cities and towns with the goal of making them Judenfrei, or Jew-free. ICE now sweeps through our cities and towns with the aim of making them immigrant-free. And like the German SS, ICE is not loyal to the Constitution, but only to their leader. As one ICE agent yelled at us, "Long live the king." Now our government and its agents say that our nation's laws don't apply to them because they're keeping us safe from an invasion. I don't know how you feel, but I feel Massachusetts has never felt less safe than it does right now, and it's not because of immigrants. It's because we've been invaded by armed federal agents abducting people and denying them due process. In Burlington right now, human beings are being held captive in conditions that violate the 8th Amendment, prohibiting cruel and unusual punishment. Every day, ICE agents are violating people's 5th and 14th Amendment rights by depriving them of liberty without due process and equal protection of the law. At one of our visits to Burlington, we met an immigration lawyer whose client was being detained in the building, yet even after waiting hours, she was never even allowed inside to see, let alone speak with her client. This is happening every day. Now, I fear that their efforts will become more and more extreme, as we're seeing right now, and our rights will become more restricted. Sadly, I do believe we're approaching a day where every one of us, immigrant and U.S. born alike, will be afraid every time we see an unmarked van, every time we hear a knock at the door, every time we enter a government building, whether it's the DMV, a courthouse, the airport, or even the library. We will be afraid because we're seeing right now with our own eyes that any laws of this land and any rights we have are only temporary when government agents are unleashed and entirely unaccountable. So amidst all of this, why bother protesting at all? When Marcelo was released from Burlington, a reporter asked him about our protests, and he replied, quote, "It's incredible. It definitely shows how America still has heart. There's definitely still people in America that have good intentions, that have good thoughts in mind. It shows that a lot of people understand that it's not as easy as taking someone, putting them in a detention center, and sending them off to their country. There's more to that. There's love, there's family, there's community." After bearing witness at ICE for the past 8 weeks, I can tell you that ICE agents and DHS officials stand together in the most impressive solidarity I have ever seen in my life. They are in lockstep. They stand together in what Martin Luther King Jr. would have called brutal solidarity. I say we must stand in loving solidarity. We must be their opposite. Rather than use our privilege to torment those of perceived lesser status, we must stand up for them. When ICE agents throw the Constitution in the gutter, we must pick it up and read it to them. And I mean that literally. Every Wednesday outside that building, we turn our speaker to face the ICE office and we read the Constitution to them so they will at least know what they're violating. Regardless of our views on any other political issues, I believe the only way to resist is if we stand in solidarity to publicly support immigrants and their rights. It's no longer sufficient to do so in our thoughts only, or in conversations with friends, or through online posts alone. We must make these valuables visible. We must stand in public, because those who hate and fear immigrants aren't just thinking their thoughts. They're not just posting online. They've actualized this violence with the full support of our entire government, from the DMV to the IRS to ICE. So I want to leave you with an ask, with a request. If you know anyone who is worried about the future of our country but has yet to take any action, please encourage them to do so. Invite them to join you at an event, whether it's standing with us on Wednesdays or Burlington, or helping them find some other outlet. Or you can create a new opportunity with them. As we learned 8 weeks ago, it only takes 2 people with signs to have a protest. It doesn't have to be complicated. We must put our values out in the open for everyone to see. And for these reasons, I'm so grateful that you are here today. I'm honored to be standing with you against tyranny. Thank you.